Ep.148 of Propy's weekly webinar, where we have the opportunity to discuss smart real estate investing. My name is Christopher Pope. I'm the head of sales at Propy. I'm accompanied with Kirsten Heslop, who is a senior account executive at Property Title. And our special guests today are Kylie Ponce and Brad Patterson. Welcome to the show today, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. So before we start our conversation about smart real estate investing, I would love to hear more about you guys. Where did you grow up? What are your passions? Why did you get into real estate? And what is your niche in the real estate space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. I've been in Arizona about 10 years now. Brad grew up in California and has been here about 3. We met skydiving, actually. So that is kind of one of our passions that we still enjoy to do. We also really love to play golf, so spend a lot of time with that. And we have a bunch of animals, so that also takes up some of our time. We really got into real estate basically for this exact reason, for real estate investing. It was something that we were interested in doing ourselves and kind of reverse engineered how we wanted to get to this point. So what better way to learn how to do it than to really do it ourselves? So I became a real estate agent, Brad became a home inspector, and we just wanted to be able to really figure out all aspects of the industry and really fell in love with it. So that's how we got into it. And it's also kind of our niche where we really like to help other people purchase investment homes and be able to invest in real estate themselves.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Kirsten, before you start, who is the better golfer?
She is. She's getting really good. It's a hard time keeping up with her, man, I tell you. She's a quick learner.
That's awesome.
And Brad, you were the skydiving instructor. And that's
I was a former skydiving instructor. I've got over 10,000 skydives. It's something that grabbed me at a young age, just after college, and then I started doing it for a year, and that turned out to be 10 years later. So
amazing.
So
cool. I've never been.
Yeah, well, you should try it sometime if you ever get the opportunity. It's a great experience.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks you guys for sharing. I mean, being able to trial and error this whole real estate investing is huge. So we can hit the hammer right on the nail and go right into our first question. And that is, what is real estate investing?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. A lot of people know that purchasing homes is for a place to live, a roof over your head, and it's a way to build equity versus renting your entire life. But there's actually a lot more to it. Real estate is a great investment tool. It's a great way to diversify your portfolio. Because there's like the stock market, you can put a whole bunch of money into that. The stock market crashes and goes down, and you're left with nothing. But you purchase properties or multiple properties, and you still have that physical house and everything that comes along with it. So by purchasing, second, third, fourth homes, whether that's a standalone home, apartment, duplex, things like that, you really get some added benefit from kind of a passive income from rental, as well as some appreciation on the house. So there's a lot of really good benefits to it. The market waxes and wanes over a short time, but as we all know, overall in general, the real estate market is always on an upward trend. So in addition to that, there's also some really great tax benefits that real estate investing provides. So, the IRS sees a loan as a non-taxable event. Home appreciates over time, and you're actually able to borrow against that appreciation, purchase other homes. And then rental income itself is also considered passive income. So passive income is actually taxed more favorably than active income, than like your W-2. So there's some really good tax benefits. It's a nice way to diversify your investment portfolio, and really maximize kind of all the options.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. So let's dive a little deeper. Let's discuss the smart real estate investing at the very top of the investment funnel. So what insight can you provide to the audience about just choosing the right property to purchase?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of factors to take into that, of course. We could probably spend all day talking about it, but to be a little bit brief, I think one of the important things to look at is this is, going to be a second or third home, so you're not occupying it. So you're going to have renters in there. So there's multiple different types of renters you can have. You can have Short-term rentals, which are like vacation rentals, turn over rather quickly. You're going to get a higher income from that. You can also do long-term rentals, which, it might not quite make, as much income, but you're going to be able to cover all of your expenses and still have the appreciation of the house. Long-term rentals, of course, take a little less effort. Short-term rentals, they have higher turnover, so there might be more things you need involved in. So you want to kind of consider those aspects of what type of occupancy you want to have in there. Another thing is you want to look at the market. What market do you want to be in? You don't necessarily need to purchase a home in your own market. There's places all over the world or all over the country even that have great options to purchase a home in. So you want to look at things like, is the city expanding? Are there more jobs coming to the area? What's the median rental income? What are some of the other factors? Employment rate, things like that. So basically, some of those kind of things you want to really look at. You can be pretty hands-off with a rental, which is nice. There's really property management companies across the country. So you can be as involved in it or as not involved as you'd like. So those are all things that you really want to kind of take into consider of where you want to get your property. Like for example, here in Phoenix and like the Scottsdale area, there's a lot of short-term rentals. It's a highly sought-out place for vacations. We have a lot of sun and a lot to do, a lot of golf. We're also getting a lot of large companies building some really big microchip manufacturing here. So, that market's also expanding. So there's a lot of opportunity here, but there's also lots of opportunity in other places. Other things you want to be aware of is there's some places that don't even allow short-term rentals. So you want to make sure that you look into, all of the rules and regulations that each place have. Some places have really high taxes. It's called the transient occupancy tax. So you want to make sure that, you're not basically being taxed out of being profitable. There's other tools that you can use, something called AirDNA, and that basically looks at 10 million properties across the globe. It takes data from Airbnb and VRBO and really helps you determine where's a good market. Is there a good percentage of rentals? It also helps you price things like that, like what you would put for your rental price. And then finally, there's a really good tool. You can find it on Google. There's many different options. It's called an APOD, or an Annual Property Operating Data Calculator. And so you input different data points like your sales price, your closing costs, and then what type of expenses you're going to have. So you need to look at your taxes, your property management fees, the utilities, some of those other things, your mortgage interest. And it kind of helps figure out, is this going to be a profitable property for you, so that you make sure that your expenses aren't higher than your income. So it helps you kind of think about all of those different factors, and then some further analysis tools that are also really nice if you really want to get down to which is going to be the most profitable property. So once you decide on which property that you want to put an offer in, you put an offer in, great. But there's still some other things that you need to pay attention to, one of which is your inspections. This is where I'm going to hand it over to Brad here to give us a little more insight on that.
All right. Thank you very much. So obviously, as Kai was talking about, purchasing a home is a large investment, large sum of money, and there's a lot of things, especially with flips, that you can see that you might not be able to see to the naked eye. Especially when you walk in, it might look great, but there's a lot of items that we're going to talk about that can be really costly, which are going to eat away at the profits, overall, that you're going to be looking for in an investment property. There's a lot of 5-point inspections out there for 4-point inspections for investors only, and this might sound, a lot of people might think this is sufficient. There's just a lot of things, that a full home inspection will pick up on that can also lead to more costly items down the road. So we're going to go over 5 main points of a home inspection and some of the pricing that can be involved with replacement of these items. So you can see kind of the large number that can add up really quickly. We always recommend, of course, getting a full home inspection. It's going to be very detailed, roof to crawl space, every appliance inside and out. And it's going to give you a real good idea, put a lot more information in your court as an investor to make a proper decision, going forward. So some of the 5 major points that we talked about. I'm going to pull up a slide real quick. Is HVAC, okay? Heating, AC, obviously roof, the structure of the home, that's foundation, electrical, and then of course the plumbing, okay? Average lifespan of an HVAC system is about 10 to 15 years. That's manufacturer's recommended lifespan. Of course, you can see some that are 20 plus years old. But we always recommend that if you are investing in this and it is within this window, to budget for a replacement. We'll talk on the next slide about what kind of costs some of these things are. So for example, HVAC system for, let's say, a 2,000 square foot home on average will be about $8,000 to $10,000 today for a replacement. If you step it up to a 4,000 square foot home, of course that doubles, because those can have 2 or more units that could require replacement. And of course, a lot of people try to sell homes around this time, because it could be very, very expensive to replace these items. Next thing to talk about is like the roof. The roof, average lifespan is about 20 to 30 years, depending on your climate and your environment. And a roof on a 2,000 square foot home is about $14,000 to replace for a full replacement. Of course, if you step it up, it's about double, about $20,000 to $30,000 for a larger home. So it could be a very large investment for an investor if they don't get a high quality home inspection and this is overlooked, and they do find leaks within the first handful of years. It can be a very expensive out-of-pocket item for them. Next item up is plumbing, pipes. A lot of these older homes, especially out here in Arizona, they're 1950s homes, maybe a little older, 1960s, 1970s. These pipes can start to have a lot of issues. It's a lot of things that's really overlooked, especially in disclosures. It doesn't really make it all the way to disclosure of the buyer that there was any issues, there isn't any issue, especially on flips. Is something that I've noticed quite a bit. And pipe repairs, sewer line repairs can be roughly around $100 per foot to replace, and a lot of these are 50 to 100 feet long. So that could be anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 out of pocket to replace. Of course, you're responsible for everything from the city tap all the way to your house. Of course, it's one of those items that you're going to want to have a sewer scope. Okay, that's where they put a video camera down, and you can get a full inspection of water flowing through the system, and you have a good idea of how everything's functioning. These pipes last between 50 to 100 years on average, but of course, problems start showing up earlier. So that's something you can assess and be able to take into account when you're purchasing a home. Electrical, of course, in older homes, electrical items can be expensive to upgrade a panel. A lot of these older homes out here in Arizona are 100 amp services. These days for modern homes, they're requiring about a 200 amp service. And if this is going to be a short-term rental like an Airbnb, and you want to add maybe a pool, maybe a spa, there's going to be quite costly repairs to update these. Prices of materials have kind of gone up quite a bit, as you all probably know. And this is something that you're definitely going to want to have a good electrical inspection, which is included with your home inspection, just to make sure there's no electrical gremlins down the road. Structurally, of course, you want to make sure the home is sound. Okay. This can vary a lot as far as repair goes, depending on the severity of it. For example, we've had a friend, a former client of mine, that bought about a 1,500 square foot home, had a home inspection that wasn't very detailed done. She bought the home as an investment property, and turns out she needed about $120,000 in structural repairs. Of course, that's a very extreme situation, but it's something that you definitely want to know. Is the house sound on are the bones good? Total, a lot of these things for a 2,000 square foot home could be about $44,000 if you had to replace all these items. Okay, a water heater, average lifespan, it's about 8 to 12 years. And this is another item that is very commonly overlooked when you're looking at a home to purchase. A few other items that you can add on to a home, or that could be with a home, especially for a short-term rental, is like a pool. Having a good pool inspection is something that's really important. Inspection of the pool itself, as well as the operating equipment, because in addition to those can be about $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the size of the pool to replace any kind of working pumps or filters. We always obviously recommend getting a home warranty with every purchase of a home. That'll cover anything within the first year that does fail. And of course, paying attention to the years and ages of every single item. A full home inspection is going to run every single one of these appliances. They're going to test the function of them, give you the information on it as far as the age of it and any other important items about it that you may need to know. All in all, it's very important to get a full home inspection, a very detailed home inspection. So we recommend reaching out to and acquiring a good home inspector in the area that you're looking for an investment, so that you can put all the information in your court to make a smart investment decision.
Well, thank you, Kylie. Brad, thank you. Smart investors out there listening in, I mean, they just articulate exactly what we should look for when buying a home. Now we kind of have this idea. I have to ask you guys a quick question now. What is the best market rate? to buy an investment property? Is it Arizona? I heard Arizona's like top of the charts.
Yeah, we don't want to give away our secrets.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
okay.
No, Arizona is a great place. We are fortunate to be here. They're kind of like I mentioned before, Scottsdale has a lot of short-term rentals, and they're all very, very successful because we do get people that come here for vacations, snowbirds. I think we have the highest per capita golf here. We have a bunch of amazing events that happen. We had the Barrett-Jackson, Phoenix Open, Super Bowl this year, spring training. The list kind of goes on and on. So it's a great destination place. We also have very good weather. But then there's also a lot of people that are moving here. We're getting a lot of Californians kind of flooding in from this way. And there's a lot of jobs being created here. So, a lot of people still they'll move here. They might want to rent, then buy, or some people just like to rent forever. So this market is a very good market actually to have investment properties.
Okay. Yeah. I would love to dive in more about like what are the tips and tricks to purchasing? Like we know what property we should buy and where, maybe secretively where, but what are the tips and tricks to purchasing? What tips would you like to share when it comes to purchasing maybe a first, second, or third investment property?
Yeah, having a really good lender is very important because obviously in order to purchase a home, you need to have the finances and ability to do so. And you want to also make sure you're staying within your means because it would be great to have the property rented out every single moment of the year, but that's not always the case. So you want to make sure that you do give yourself a little bit of padding so that if something, you didn't have rentals for a little bit, you didn't have to sell the house because you couldn't afford it. So making sure that you're smart about it's really important. But there's a lot of creative ways to come up with financing for things. There's something called a DSCR loan, which is debt service coverage ratio. And that basically allows you to get a mortgage based off of the cash flow generation that the property has, as opposed to just your income and your tax returns and things like that. So there's things like that. There's other things that people do. They will like buy a property that maybe needs a little bit of work, and so you put in some money, but that actually appreciates it and increases the value quite a bit more. So you kind of end up getting extra value from that. You can rent it out, refinance that, and actually be able to pull some of the funds from that property in order to purchase another property. So there's a lot of really creative ways to obtain enough funds to do it. As if it's a couple, each person is able to do a first-time home loan. So I think having a really good lender on your side is really helpful, just to make sure that you really are being creative and also being smart about it.
Okay. Have you guys noticed a trend, as far as a first-time investor, is it the down payment that's like preventing them from, purchasing an investment property? And if that's the case, like, do you guys have any tips in mind to like lower that down payment?
Yeah, I mean, there's down payment assistant programs that are really helpful. Sometimes if you can obtain gifts from people, or if you have family members that are maybe willing to kind of offer you a loan on different terms where you don't have to necessarily go by the bank rules or things like that. If you're able to, kind of liquidate other avenues, but there's not some loans that really only make you to put 3 to 5% down. So that can allow you to be able to purchase a home without necessarily having a lot of the funds. And you don't have to start huge. You can start small. It can be a small 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo that you rent out. There's people that absolutely, are in the market for that. There's people that are looking for everything. So you don't necessarily have to start on a huge scale to get started, but it kind of just starts with one and takes some time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think go ahead. Sorry. Right.
Oh, no, I was just saying, one thing that I've noticed as well, that's kind of like a hurdle people getting over, is mentally the task of taking on a big project like a home. It's just a lot of, not knowing very much of things, but using the tools like how we talked about earlier, getting a good home inspection, stuff like that, to put all that knowledge in your court will definitely put those fears at ease, and then you can move forward strategically.
Okay. Awesome. That's great.
Well, thanks both for the insight, and it's amazing. You two are like truly the whole package. Kylie, real estate professional; Brad, experienced home inspector. So okay, I found the right property like, thanks, Kylie, found it. And I've made the decision. I'm going to purchase the property. So what can you share about just managing the investment property that I'm buying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing that is important to kind of pay attention to and be aware of when you are purchasing a property is if it's a second, third, fourth home. When people are moving into their first home, they likely already have furniture and kitchenware and things like that. So you have to make sure that you take into account that you're potentially going to have to furnish a whole home if it's going to be a furnished rental. So you want to make sure that you're able to kind of fund that. There's services that can help you do all of that. They kind of say it's about $10,000 a room, but it depends on how much you want to do. But something to kind of be aware of. But there's also really good property management companies out there. There's really large ones. There's people that kind of do it on small scale. Getting good recommendations for that is very helpful because you can be as involved or uninvolved as you would like. There are some companies that you purchase the home and then you are completely hands off. They will completely furnish it, make sure the dishes are washed, stock everything, change all your locks, make sure you have electrical, like the code lock, so that it can be a new lock every time there's a new renter in there. So there's kind of a whole range of different options in terms of kind of property investment managers and things like that. And they'll take a fee if you're fully hands off, then it's around probably 20%. If you're a little more involved or they aren't doing quite as much, it can be 10 or 15. A little bit depends on your market, depends on kind of what you're looking for. But there's some companies that are also nationwide and can help all over. So it's really as involved as you really want to be or want to not be. But the nice thing about having some property managers is they are really good about response time, and they have contacts to be able to fix any issue that might come up. So if someone is like, there's water pouring out of the water heater and you're out of town and you can't run over there and get it, then you have to try to scramble and figure that out. So there are some kind of less stressed ways. You may not get quite as much income from it, but they are able to quickly handle all of those things because making sure that the customers are happy and they're giving you good reviews and all of that is important for the success of your property.
Right. Yeah, Kylie, thank you so much for sharing. And gosh, I know we're almost out of time, right? But like, what is the most important item you want this audience to take away from today's discussion?
Yeah, I think really doing your homework on it is really important. Making sure that you crunch the numbers, making sure the finances work for you, and that you are not going to be putting yourself in a tight spot that you have to, like I said, sell off this home at a time that is not a very good time to do it, and then you're actually hurting yourself. So being on top of it, doing your research, and having kind of everything in a line is, I think, really what the most important part of being successful, because sometimes you walk into a home, you're like, this one's really pretty and I really like this one, but is it the one that makes sense? And as pretty as it might be, you also are not necessarily living there. So you want to make sure that you are really doing all of your research and all your homework to make sure that you're getting a property that you are going to be successful.
Okay. So working with a real estate agent that has investing experience, I would say.
Absolutely.
So if I was an investor and I wanted to reach out to someone and seek advice, counsel, looking to purchase a home, you name it, like where do we find you guys?
Well, we actually have a nice slide for you here with our contact information. That there's our phone numbers, emails, websites. Please don't hesitate to ever reach out, call, text, email. We are really passionate about this and love helping other people help people do it. We've kind of got into this industry in a unique way and fell in love with it. And so, we're really excited about being able to share everything that we've learned with anyone that is willing to listen. So.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much for your time and your expertise on this topic. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, reach out to Brad and Kylie. Thank you both.
Thank you guys again so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
Go play some golf. You guys.
Yeah.
So we'll stop the live stream and thank our audience for being here, and to our guests, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of information with us. And we will see people next week at the same time and same place.